Good afternoon, and welcome to our Dean's Conversation here. I'm our Assistant Dean of Advancement and External Engagement, Michael Paulus, and I will be moderating the discussion here with our Interim Dean, Alex McKelvie. And what we wanted to do here is have an opportunity to make this fall's Dean's Update more conversational. And we want to welcome you to be a part of the conversation. So all of our parents, alumni, friends, corporate partners, and partners across employer relations as well. We want you to partake in this conversation as we launch a very ambitious goal called Transformation 2030. So with that said, Alex, we're here today to make a very large, ambitious announcement. We want to talk more in detail about it. So the simplest yet most complex question is, what is Transformation 2030?
Well, Transformation 2030 is really about achieving top 25 national status for undergraduate education. It's a really bold announcement with a specific goal that's going to help lead the trajectory of the Whitman School for the next couple of years. Now, the emphasis on top 25 does not mean we're walking away from our great master's programs or research enterprise or anything like that, but it's a true commitment to our students, to our families, to our alumni of aiming high and being bold with something specific that helps raise our sights towards top tier excellence nationally.
So top 25 is ambitious, right? And it's very public, and typically in higher education, you really don't put out a quantifiable goal like that. This is very bold, and we're going to be able to be held accountable by this goal now. So why top 25? Why not top 15? Why not top 10? Or why not announce a strategic plan and just say, hey, we want to get better in a few of these different areas?
So I'd say at this moment in time, marginal improvement doesn't cut it. The whole idea with the transformation plan is it for it to be transformational, and that is to take a significant leap forward towards that top 25 echelon. Now, top 25 is a leap forward. We are currently ranked in the mid to high 30s, and so taking that next level up helps to set us up for future success afterwards. Now, indeed, it is bold, and we've already shown a lot of proof points towards moving publicly in that direction. And so we're really excited to make that commitment publicly. Once we hit top 25, we'll reconfigure. We'll look to see what it takes to get that next level afterwards. But I'll say in those top 10, top 15, it is a different ball game than what we're doing. So we're ramping up towards that top 25 for now, and that's within the next 5 years. So that's the 2030 part of the Transformation 2030, and then after that, we'll reinvestigate to see where else we're going to go as we look up.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now with this goal, it's ambitious. It's very public. Obviously, this was not decided upon in a vacuum and launched without things already in place, right? So can you talk to all of our parents, friends, alumni that are watching about some of the foundational items that had been put in place leading up to this announcement, and some of the things that we've done at Whitman over the last 18 to 24 months?
Absolutely. So as part of developing our transformation plan, the Transformation 2030, we did a lot of benchmarking. We looked to see what does great look like. And that includes benchmarking against those schools who are consistently in the top 25, but outside of that top 10. And so we identified 18 schools. Many of them are household names. Some of them were a little bit surprising even to us, but where they're showing excellence in undergraduate education. We also looked across a variety of different industries and a variety of different school rankings to see who's doing great in these certain areas that we identified. We spent over a year collecting data. We did a survey with parents, with corporate partners, with our alumni to evaluate where they viewed our value proposition to be, where they viewed our brand to be. And then we also set together a variety of working groups looking at all the key factors we identified. So over a process of a year of self-study that involved hundreds of alumni, hundreds of faculty, staff, students, through the survey, thousands of other respondents, we're able to craft that strategic plan, which really is helping us aim upwards. And we found a variety of factors that we didn't know. So we're really appreciative of all the feedback and thoughts that people spent to help us get us where we are today.
Mm-hmm. So where is Whitman today as far as rankings? Because there's a number of different sources and rankings out there. When prospective families go online or they're buying magazines, there's a number of different publications that have multiple types of rankings. So where is Whitman when it comes to our undergraduate ranking, and which ones are we following along with?
So as you said, there's a variety of rankings that we follow. They depend quite a bit on different majors, different programs, different levels. The one we're following for our transformation plan and really benchmarking towards is the Poets and Quants ranking for undergraduate. Now, that's made up of three key factors. And I'd say those three factors align very closely with things we value. One is student quality. So they look at SAT score, GPA, admissions rate. So all of the factors looking at the incoming student quality. The second factor, and that's 1/3 of the rankings as well, is really the student experience. They hear directly from students, hear from directly from young alumni about the quality of their experience at the Whitman School. And lastly, that last third is really on career placement. So job placement, starting salary, if students get the jobs of their dreams, those types of factors. And again, we follow that because it really aligns closely with what we value. And importantly also, there are things that we can track our progress year over year. That as part of the Poets and Quants ranking, they share a lot of the outcome data. And so we're able to see and track how we're doing compared to those other schools that we've identified that we want to really compete with.
And what time of year do those rankings come out so people follow along with this? So we were focused in on Poets and Quants. When will those rankings come out?
Those will be coming out in the spring, and I think it's usually March and April. They sometimes move the deadlines. I know we're doing some data collection right now. A lot of our data are already done, including for the incoming student data. But certainly we'll see some more news in the early spring.
Okay. So looking at, forming working groups at the leadership level, talked about stakeholder engagement, getting feedback. And then when you look at benchmarking against peers, there's a lot of competition between the 15th to the 17th ranked business school, probably till about the 40th ranked business school. So how do we differentiate there? Like where are we now and how do we close that gap?
So I guess the good news is we already started closing that gap. Over the last year, when we started working in this area, we started closing gaps. And some of the areas that we really focus on are areas like job placement. So career outcomes is a huge impact factor for parents as they decide whether they want to go to school and whether their students are going to be getting quality jobs, especially compared to our competitors. And so with that, we've been able to close our gap in terms of placement. So last year, we announced our highest ever placement rate at 180 days, which was 98.7%. That's pretty much everyone who's actively looking for a job is getting a job with a starting salary of slightly more than $72,000. Again, that's a lot for 21-year-olds. But we also know that compared to some of the schools that are in the top 25, their 90-day placement rate is at 95%, and we're about 91%. Their starting salaries are from $75,000 to $85,000. And so even though we're catching up, we still see that there's areas for where we can continue to improve. Same thing on the incoming student class. This year, we had our most academically qualified incoming class, 3.84 GPA, 1349 SAT. We know those schools that are ahead of us are at the 3.9 GPA. They're at the 1400 SAT. So even though we're getting better, we're also seeing that we're catching up and we're still a little behind that top tier. And that's really what we're chasing to make sure we can get that level of outcome. And then certainly a lot of the other investments we're making are also helping us to catch up. I'd say any Whitman student knows how much we value the quality of the student experience. And we're really investing heavily into that, whether it's academic advisors, whether it's investing heavily into experiential learning. And those types of areas are really going to help us to differentiate our product. So as parents and young people are choosing where to go with their undergraduate education, they're thinking of us first and foremost because of those great outcomes that we have.
And you mentioned a lot with record applications, enrollment, record GPAs, SAT scores for incoming students. What makes now the right time to announce this plan?
So there's a variety of factors that really make the timing right now. I'd say first and foremost, higher education is a little bit of a transition point. We see what's called the demographic cliff, and that's where around 2008, families stopped having babies to the same extent as they did before, and that's predominantly in the Northeast. The Northeast is where historically we've drawn the vast majority of our students. And so we're starting to see that the competition is increasing. We also see that parents and family members are making important decisions about where they're going to send their student for education and where there's a return on investment, including whether it can see, going for micro-credentials as opposed to a formal education, going right into the workforce. And so as you start to see some of those changes happening, we're really doubling down on making sure that the students who come here are really getting their money worth, and that's in the short term for their first job, but also that longer term career education. I'd say also at the university level, we're recognizing the importance of business education, where I've heard senior leadership of the university say straight out, Syracuse University now needs a top 25 business school. And so with that, we have support from the senior leaders of the university, the board of trustees, to really make this investment into the Whitman School and elevate us to the area where they see the potential of where we need to be. So a lot of this is kind of competitive factors, internal factors, but also making sure that we can deliver the best for what our students deserve and want, which is truly an educational experience that is transformational and that justifies our tuition.
You talked a little bit about university leadership support from the chancellor or the vice chancellor. Can you talk a little bit about the last 18 months and some of the things that the university has done to support the building and our transformation here with our facilities?
And so people who haven't been in the Whitman School for a few years will notice that the building looks fundamentally different. Over the last 2 years, we've changed each and every floor. And so even just walking in our main entrance, it will look different than you've seen. We've invested heavily in digital signage. We've invested heavily in wayfinding. But most importantly, we've invested in the common areas that students can come into the Flom Grand Hall, which is kind of like our living room in the building, where we've invested in a 28-foot screen to make sure that we have cutting edge communications, digital signage, put in a lot of new couches, cafe style benches for students to come and work. And so the idea is also to make sure that we look and act and feel like a top 25 business school. So even people who haven't been here since last year, when they walk in and they see the radical transformation that we've done to the hallways, to the big move over the summer where we reconfigured the entire school around function, not based on undergraduate versus graduate, making sure that people coming in from the outside know where to go. That's a large part of our investment into the building, and it's in great thanks to senior leadership of the university to allow us to make these one-time investment into the school. And it really is just a reflection of where everyone's pulling in the same direction.
Yep. Now, we've talked a lot about, we've set the table, what we've done the last 2 years, studying other schools, benchmarking numbers, integrating staff, reporting lines, enhancing the building. What's next? What is the strategy? So how do we actually position Whitman to get into the top 25?
So a lot of this is kind of, I'd say, it reflects a few key areas of investment. Number one is putting students first. And that really is, as we think about the quality of the education, making sure we're doing what's right from students. And that is smaller caseloads for advisors, whether it's a career advisor, an academic advisor, making sure that our students have the personal touch when they come in, so that they really truly feel supported towards their education, where they're going to get to know faculty, get to know staff on a more intimate level, where they're going to know their name and things about them, not just being a number. Now, they get that even from their first day on campus. So that emphasis on high touch, high personalization is key. The second thing is business education is not just something that happens in the classroom, it's really what we do. And that includes a heavy emphasis on experiential learning, that anyone coming in right now will not have, one experiential learning experience, but each and every level that they're in, they're going to have at least one signature experience. So what that means is 100% of our students will have a signature experience in their first year here, their sophomore year, as well as their senior year. In their junior year, many of them will go and study abroad, right? So we have approximately 60% of students who will also study abroad. And so it really kind of cements our longstanding commitment to experiential programming, but really ratcheting that up. We're also investing heavily in career. Now, we know that is not just being career ready, and by that, people usually think about getting that first job, but making sure that the skills, the abilities, the mindset that our students have is key. And that's where we've invested into our employer relations team. We put some technology to support kind of at scale, making sure students can do interviews. We've hired some new staff in the area, and also kind of better aligned our employer relations team with our career center team. And that means that, from the get-go, students are getting career training. It also means the topics that we're teaching in class. So this year we introduced a 1-credit AI class. And so by the time the students, it's around 600 students, by the time they head home for the holidays, they'll have a Microsoft Excel certification. They'll have a Gemini, that's Google's AI tool certification, as well as having a good understanding of a lot of the technical needs. Over the last year, we've revamped 2 different majors. We've revamped 2 master's programs, and we launched a new Master of Science in Real Estate. And these are all kind of cutting edge types of things that will prepare students for the future ahead. The other piece with this is making sure that we're really providing that support for students. And that includes mental health training. Certainly certainly our Impress program is a signature piece that a lot of parents and students really resonate with. But what we're doing is making sure that all of our students have those great professional skills, the personal skills to be able to be successful in business. So it's not only technical training, but making sure that we're really building future leaders and future managers as well.
So can you talk a little bit more about career exploration trips and then experiential learning? Because we talk about that a lot, especially externally with alumni, parents, donors, friends, all the things that we're doing to support students and them, growing, learning in real time, taking these trips, right? And experiential learning isn't always going just to London or to Barcelona, right? Or for a couple months, right? So can you talk about experiential learnings that happen in the building, and then also the difference between career exploration trips and how we visit companies and different companies host us and their alumni, and that helps entail networking for jobs?
Great. So with the career exploration trips, we've vastly expanded that. So we've been going to New York City with 9 or 10 trips a year. And what those do is, especially for sophomores, is they're able to go and see the types of places they're going to work. And so it's not only reading about them in class or meeting with some people as they come here as part of career fairs, but going to see what life is like at some of these companies. And a lot of the time it's the young alums who are hosting us. But, students who dream to work at Goldman Sachs, students who dream to work at Google, students who dream to work at, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Amazon, any of these amazing companies, we will actually go and visit them. Now, that's part of a structured program that we call Career Exploration Trip. And with those, we've expanded beyond New York City. We've gone to Boston. We've gone to DC. This year, we actually sent a group of retail students to go to Bentonville, Arkansas. Why Bentonville? Walmart, the number one private company, the largest private company in the world. And with that, it's really understanding what life is like at those types of companies. And so students are deciding what major they want to pursue, what type of career they'd like to have. Being able to close that gap on the knowledge is really key. And so that's where we've developed a significant portfolio of those. Now, the experiential programs, the experiential learning is similar in mindset in the sense that experiential learning helps to learn and understand a lot of this applied work. Now, that can come in the form of case competitions, in terms of doing project-based learning in the classroom. In the last year, we've also introduced a lot more virtual reality and AI-based simulations in the classroom. So, for example, we invested into a large number of those VR headsets, and so you have groups of students who are going and having critical conversations with a bot, but where after those crucial conversations about tough issues, AI is providing a lot of feedback, and those are the types of applied hands-on learning that they're doing. And it's the same thing with some of the simulations, where in small groups of students or one-on-one, you're working with a professional actor that's in like a real-life simulation, and those are tough because you never know what the person's going to ask, you never know how they're going to react. But the idea is really that you're putting students into a real-life type of situation. Now, that experiential learning we're doing throughout the entire program, that the students are here at Whitman. So this year, for example, with our AI class I mentioned, we had Microsoft in place to do a promptathon. We had Salesforce, we had Deloitte, we've had other companies come in to talk about how they're using AI at work and some of the professional expectations for the use of business technology. Now, it's not students reading about it. It's not, a lecture. Rather, you're working hand in hand with some of these companies. Now, that's going to be pervasive throughout the entire curriculum as we continue to roll that out.
And when you talk about AI and utilizing AI, the example of practicing for interviews that you just mentioned and questions, but that also gives students real-time feedback on eye contact, how many times they're saying or things like that, correct?
Exactly, and that's part of the plan, right? And so it's really getting kind of like coaching feedback, and it when students can show that I have done this before, I know how to do that, they have the confidence in the job interview, but it's also a risk reduction point of view for a potential employer. And that is, they know that students have done this, they have the confidence to do that, and they're therefore more likely to get a job. And it's the same thing with some of the certification programs that we do, whether it's through our Whitman Industry Readiness and Excellence Initiative, our WIRE initiative, where students can apply for and get professional certifications that are the industry standard. What that does, like the Excel, like the project management, any of the upper level ones that we have with like Tableau or actually we have about 25 different certifications now. What that does is it will allow employers to sleep better at night, to say, This is not just a class students took. They actually had the professional credential, the professional certification. So they must know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's great. So we've talked a lot about these things over the past year. What are some of these things, the big things in the works? What have we seen? What is actually happening right now?
So across the board, we're making investments in these areas, whether they're hiring new career officers, whether they're expanding our Design Your Future program, where we had over 60 students participate in that, where I think the outcome right now is 80% of them have secured internships at the end of that. We launched a new finance career accelerator program where there was such demand we really had to cap it, but every single student who started this fall has already gotten Bloomberg certification. And that was direct feedback we had from a great employer, Bloomberg, who said you need to have more of your students Bloomberg certified for us to consider them. So this was a way that we're able to do that. Now that's just one of those examples of how we're going to invest heavily into the student experience. We've also revamped our entire engagement team. So our alumni relations, our advancement team, we've actually built one of the best teams on campus now, and really brought together the alumni team with our advancement team to support students. Everyone knows about the Orange family. We talk about it all the time, but making sure that team working closely with our marketing communications team is really engaging our alumni to help support the success of our students. We've rolled out more and more on the experiential learning side. We had our second case competition for graduate students. Our faculty have taken a number of students across the country to compete in different case competitions there. We actually had 2 national championships last year. We're into our 3rd year of the Dean Sustainability Innovation Challenge, and just across the board, continued investments into programming that really supports students, their learning and their success.
One question about retention, right? We talk a lot about programs and how we're supporting our students now. Can you talk to the folks watching right now about retention, how important that is and the role it plays towards your ranking and overall retention of that first to second year student? Right. And then an example of how we've come up with an innovative way to retain our best students.
Of course. So we invest heavily to make sure we get the best students to come to Whitman. They come here, they love it. And our retention rate from first to second year is around 92%. That means we lose, 8% every year. And one of the reasons that we lose them is sometimes the financial aspect, and where some of the students who come in and have amazing academic performance are looking to go somewhere else because of the financial cost of being here. So 2 years ago, we created a retention scholarship. We identified the 50 best performing students who did not have any merit money from Syracuse University. We identified them. We told them how great they were. We bought them dinner, and then we announced to them that if you return in the fall, we'll give you $5,000 towards your bursar bill. Now, that was paid for by a successful alumnus, but what it did is it allowed us to retain 49 out of those 50. And those are the most at-risk folks that after their first year that, they maybe were going to look for somewhere else, and we were able to keep them with a little bit more money. But we're continuously trying to identify areas to attract the best students and then keep them here and make sure that they feel supported, that making sure that they feel belong and that they really can come here and grow together with us. And so that was, the retention scholarship plan was just one of the areas that we're continuing to help make sure we don't not only attract the best and brightest, but keep the best and brightest and help them graduate from Whitman as well.
And then the data shows that if you're able to retain them to their sophomore year and they come back to campus, they're more likely to stay all 4 and graduate.
Yes. And so once we keep them once they're here for their sophomore year, they're really likely to stay on board. And there's just, sometimes it's, one or two very unexpected reasons that someone would leave, but really it's that first year to the second year where we identified that there was a potential drop off.
Okay. Now, as a part of this plan, there's also big ideas within the Transformation 2030 plan, which we've called Big Sky.
Blue skies. Blue sky.
They could be big too, but they're blue.
Well, they are big. And I think these are ones that really help to differentiate the Whitman School compared to others. So this last week, we announced the Center for the Creator Economy. That's a joint venture between the Whitman School and the Newhouse School of Communications. And that is, if people don't know, the #1 communication school in the country. And our launch was for the Center for the Creator Economy. And so when people ask, what is that? It's think about the role of influencers, think about the role of creators, so YouTubers, TikTokers, a variety of different platforms that really leverage the creative talents. And in many cases, that is the product.
Yep.
Now, professional expectations, for the creator economy are showing, that this is going to grow to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I've seen, by 2028, this is going to be $350 million or $350 billion. I've seen where it's to be $800 billion from it by 2030. But I think that the message is clear that this is a new way of business. This is a new way of entrepreneurship. And that's also, visible in how people are influenced by these types of influencers on their product decisions. We've seen recently that career advice is being increasingly received by TikTok, which is shocking for many, but it's for influencers, but that Gen Z audience, that's who they're looking for. Just like a few years ago, we saw how influential reviews are for consumer decisions. That's also impacting big businesses. They're putting their budget, their marketing spend behind the role of influencers and creators. So even big businesses are thinking about how we're doing this. So the Center for the Creator Economy brings together a lot of the thought leadership in this area, including, some of the mentoring programs we're going to do. There's curriculum. There's going to be a minor, I hope, in the next little bit, some executive education, but also the research of what makes this creator economy special. So our launch event was attended by 250 people. It was a Wednesday night in the rain. And so that's a big turnout. And a lot of the people who attended, especially students, were wowed by the fact that we're the first university to really plant a flag into the ground in this area. And where, national media has been really positive, including we got mentioned in Time Magazine, which is kind of a big deal for us over the last little week. And so that one's up and launched. We've already made our first staff hire, and we're going to be posting soon for an executive director. And the idea with that Center for the Creator Economy is that this is going to be a whole of the university center, as well as we bring in visual and performing arts, the College of Law, the Falk College of Sport, athletics, simply because athletes are also creators in an NIL world. They're now, by definition, looking to leverage that. So that's one. And then just this week, we're going to be announcing the Orange Business Angel Network, which is a signature, high-touch type of experience where students will be working hands-on with angel investors who are connected to Syracuse University, doing early stage due diligence. So looking at high potential new ventures for whether they should get investment or not. And so this is a way of providing yet another type of really signature piece, like people who are familiar with our finance program, which is amazing, our Orange Value Fund. This is kind of another entrepreneurship commitment towards that, but it also connects in a lot of our successful entrepreneurial alumni who are investors who are looking to support our Orange ecosystem. And so with that, it's really to support students in their learning and making sure that they're getting in behind the scenes on how a lot of this type of decision making takes place, but also helping to really to understand what makes a great entrepreneurial startup tick.
Okay.
And then more to come in the spring. Yeah. So those are ones that I'm comfortable saying that we're doing this now. These are being announced, and then we'll have more to come in the spring as well. And the idea is that these are our big ideas that are going to help, the university stand out. And then when prospective students are thinking, where should I go to school? They'll see, hey, Syracuse is the only place I can really study the creator economy. Syracuse is one of the only places where I can really be hands-on behind the scenes in Orange in looking at angel investing as well.
Mm-hmm. So this has been a very positive time for Whitman, a lot of positive growth over the last 2 years. Everything about this conversation here has been very positive, right? So what are some of the obstacles? What are the challenges? And what keeps you up at night with this plan?
The magical question, what keeps me up at night? So I think first off, you're right. There has been so many positive proof points. There's so much positive momentum. I'd say the three things that keep me up at night related to this plan are the following. Number one is jobs. And we have made significant commitment towards helping our students be ready for that job market with the support to get there. But as we're seeing the job market changing, as we're seeing shrinking in many cases, the changing nature of jobs, and even some of our long-standing key employers changing their recruiting efforts, I'd say making sure that our students are in the best position possible to get jobs in a changing job market is number one. And that speaks really to where I think our value comes in as a business school and making sure that our students can get jobs. Number two is resources. We're finding through benchmarking, we're finding through a lot of other things that we need more resources, we need more staff. We're way behind on the peer assessment piece. And our team continues to work really well and really hard towards those goals, and we keep asking them to do more. But resourcing is a big issue, and that could be, especially to make sure that we can get that personal touch as we continue to grow, as we continue to do more things. I want to make sure that our team is at their best to be able to provide that service. And I'd say the third thing is, and this is a reflection of the nature of the transformation, where we have gone through some significant organizational changes, programmatic changes, new investments. I want to make sure that people don't forget why we're doing this, and making sure that everyone's kind of pulling in the same direction. And by that, really making sure that it's understanding that the top 25 is not the mission, it's kind of the outcome. That a lot of what we're doing is for students, making the Whitman School better, making Syracuse University better, and then that the top 25 is just the outcome of that. And so making sure that everyone's kind of on board and pulling in the same direction with the right resources and the support, and especially when there's a changing job market. Those are the things that I think especially are keeping me up at night.
So we've got parents, friends, alumni on the call here, a call to action. How can people be a part of this plan?
Well, there's so many different ways that we're looking for help. And I'd say continuing to pay it forward is the number one. And that paying it forward is, mentoring students, answering their emails, answering their direct messages on LinkedIn, helping to open those doors. And in many cases, supporting them so that they can be successful in internship search and job search. I'd say, many of our students are just curious, well, what is life like at some of these great companies? And what is it life like at some of these, I'd say mid-tier companies as well, that they may be hearing a lot more about the kind of the top 50, and they want to make sure it's like, oh no, this middle market is also a very good place to work, and being able to help provide information on that. I'd say in certain cases, providing, scholarship support, whether it's for retention or, the Dean's Fund, or being able to provide kind of financial resources to allow us to deliver on the program. There's, really opportunity for people who are thinking in that way to contribute. Now, what we saw last year with our record-breaking fundraising year, we still had, 1,700 or so donors, and many of them were under $2,500. Now, what that tells me is that every gift matters, that we can have this all add up to making a big difference. And it also involves, in many cases, for a call for action, coming back and participating. We have lots of competitions, we have different events, we have different areas we can bring in speakers, really just kind of staying engaged in a lot of those ways, especially, with our new Parents Council, which we launched for the first time last year. I haven't heard of anyone else with a Parents Council yet on campus or outside. Leveraging the support and networks of our parents is important. So I think, as we move together in the direction, it's really a school-wide movement as opposed to just individual, donors or alumni. We really need everyone to be able to help. And so being able to contribute in a way that's best fitting for them is really the key.
So before we, take questions from online and our audience here, why does Transformation 2030 matter? Not the ranking of a top 25, but why does the mission of the transformation itself matter?
Well, I'd say the mission of the top 25 matters because it's a commitment to excellence. And it's a commitment to excellence to our students, to our families, to our alumni. Now, it's great that we'll go up in the rankings, but it's also really fundamental that we continue to leverage the success that we've had in the past to help guide our trajectory in the future. And as parents are making decisions about places where they're going to go with their students to have that transformational undergraduate experience, we want them to think of the Whitman School as the place where we genuinely care, students will genuinely be supported, and we're committed to their excellence. And so, our mission is really to make sure that we can get, as far as we can towards, high quality students, amazing student experience, and career outcomes that matter. And that really does take a village to be able to get us there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll begin taking a few questions online here. The first question: how realistic is the top 25?
How realistic is the top 25? Very realistic. And I'd say that as we started to do benchmarking, and just as we have been rolling out our plan, our actions towards this over the last year, we've already caught up in many ways. Mm-hmm. And so as we look to see where we need to go in the next 5 years, We're already making significant headway, and it will be a process. And what I noticed over time is that sometimes it's 2 steps forward and a half step back. It's not always a linear upward trajectory. And so being able to understand this is a 5-year plan, it's 2030, but where we started to benchmark over a year and a half ago, we've already made significant headway to catch up to some of the schools ahead of us. So I'm highly confident that we'll be able to do that with the support of a lot of other people.
Yeah. And just to confirm, so we are now in the fall, approaching the winter of 25. This is the first official year. So we're working off the calendar year as far as our 5-year goal.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. The second question, will this transformation plan make it more competitive to get into Whitman? Will acceptance be lower?
Potentially, yes. And this is where, as we continue to raise the bar, I think when you talk to alums, you talk to our students, one of the things that I don't want to lose focus on is what makes our Whitman students great, which is they are extremely astute academically, but they're also leaders. They're gritty, they're hardworking, they pay it forward, they have good soft skills. And so as we think about our recruiting strategy, we're still looking for those future leaders. We're still looking for those students who have grit, determination, willing to roll up their sleeves and really be engaged. Is not only about getting a high GPA. It's not only about getting SAT. So I'd say to the extent that we're selective to make sure that we're getting these students with both of those attributes, I think is going to be important because I keep hearing from employers, from our corporate partners, how impressed they are by our young alum. It's not only their technical skills, it's really their people skills. And that's where, our students, even at elite companies, they get return offers, they get promoted, and they're just, really well thought of in the marketplace, including being ahead of many of the Ivy schools. And part of it is just their personality, a lot of the training that they're coming in with, the personal aspects, with our Impress program, with our mental health training, with a lot of the other things that we're doing. We're seeing that our students are not only academically very talented, but they're also set up for career success. And that includes a lot of the people skills.
Okay. Another question, can I still join the Parents Council?
Every year, we're going to be adding on the Parents Council. So the Parents Council, we've had our first year. We made that up of students at different levels. We're always looking for new parents to join in. And so as we move this forward, it's a 2-year term. And so we'll have parents who come in at different levels. So there's always going to be room to apply to the Parents Council. We want to keep it relatively small because we're really looking for that right fit as well.
And can you talk a little bit more about the Parents Advisory Council? Because I think it's important when we talk about stakeholder engagement. A lot of schools and universities will go right to their alumni, right? And I think there's been a lot of conversations here at the Whitman School about engaging our current parents because their son or daughter are on campus. They want them to have a very positive experience. So it was created recently. This is the first year of the Whitman Parents Advisory Council. We're the only school on campus that has one. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe tapping into parents' expertise and their networks and why we are engaging them?
Absolutely. And this is where I believe parents they also want to see the Whitman School succeed. They want their students to be successful here. And because we're bringing in such great students, we're also bringing in their parents. That in many ways, this is a family commitment, that we have a family send off, whether it's, in late August, we have, family weekend. We do all these things with family. And the recognition is being able to leverage the talent and network and support of this important audience. And that part of that came up from the survey we did as part of the benchmarking of saying, we really don't hear as much as we would like from the school. We're looking to be engaged. We have thoughts, we have ideas. And so far, the Parents Council has been amazing. We set up 3 subcommittees to support different parts of the Whitman organization, including one related to career. And so we've had, great parent conversations, a variety of meetings, and they're fully on board with helping us to open up doors for our students, support their success, and in many ways, even just providing expert feedback from what they're seeing, where they're hearing, from their perspective. So far, so good. We're looking to grow that and certainly leverage those talents of parents as well. And it's already led to, some great successful outcomes that we're pleased with.
What timeline or milestones are in place to measure Transformation 2030?
So we have a couple of different ways to measure progress. Some of the data are very quantifiable, right? So, for example, SAT, GPA, acceptance rate, placement rate, those are things that we know year over year. We've set up an internal dashboard with a variety of different KPIs, key performance indicators, that we're looking at progress year over year. So every year we do set a number of benchmarks and expectations in terms of those measurables, but we also have a lot of the activity list. The activity list is leading to the outcomes, but in many cases those are what are really driving a lot of the outcomes we want. And so we can't just say, hey, we went up here, why did we do that? But a lot of the initiatives we're doing, whether it's the AI training, whether it's the Summer Business Academy that we brought in for non-business majors, whether it's more case competitions, VR, whatever it is, those are in many cases indirect measures that we know help a lot of the things that we actually track. And so with that, we have the benchmarking that we update every year as those numbers become publicly available. And so we're certainly doing a lot of things that we're doing to communicate. The other thing that we're all going to be doing better is doing a lot more storytelling. And so with that, people are going to hear more about the successes, whether it's in the media and placing our faculty and staff into thought leadership positions, communicating more with deans from other business schools about some of the excellence that we're hearing. As part of our benchmarking, we realized that even some of our closest peers don't know about all the good things going on here. And so we've invested into building a kind of a new communications team to help do that. And so with that, people will see more events like this. They'll get more updates. They'll have different opportunities to engage in well. So I think yes, we're certainly tracking, but we're also going to improve our communication about the successes and the progress that we make on a year-to-year basis towards that 2030 goal.
Okay. How else are we incorporating AI to make our students competitive?
So, I mentioned the first year class. So that one's for first year students, and that'll be what's happening moving forward. Over the summer, some of the faculty work that we did, we realized that 20 classes were upgraded just over this past summer to include AI. Now, how we got there is perhaps the interesting thing. So 2 summers ago, we realized that AI was really going to be this next cutting edge. We provided free training to faculty and staff. So we had over 100, I think 120 faculty and staff members went through the Google the Gemini training to get certified. And what we wanted to do with that was to demystify AI. So people who had heard about it but didn't really know what it was wanted to make sure that they were getting training towards that. And then some people who were already experts, this was just like a refresher for them to see what was kind of the next step for that. Now, with that, we've done a variety of teaching training. So our teaching committee, just faculty-led, has provided 2 or 3 different sessions on incorporating AI into the classroom, whether it's academic integrity, whether it's how do you design assignments that you can't just simply put into ChatGPT, if you will, and have that be a sufficient answer, but also thinking about how do we leverage technology across the board, AI or otherwise, to really make sure that our students are prepared. And that's gone into each and every major, each and every subject. So many different classes now have some component of AI because that is what's going to happen in industry. So I've heard from other places where they're forbidding AI and saying none of the students aren't allowed to use AI. We're embracing it and making sure that students are going to have that tool because that is what they're going to be using in industry.
Great. How does Transformation 2030 benefit current students or alumni?
So Transformation 2030 really helps current students because they're going to see the year-over-year progress, and they're going to see that we're continuing to make improvements towards that end goal. So they're going to feel a lot of the improvements that we're making, just like when we have the Center for Creative Economy launch. It's 250 people. We had our Q's 50 Summit on Friday, which was recognizing the fastest growing alumni started businesses in the country. And we brought, 50 of them in. We had a full day event with students, and that had over 200 students attend. We had great attendance for our Salzburg event, which was the 76th annual, which is recognizing excellence in supply chain. So every week, students are going to notice that this transformation is happening. For alumni, obviously on the engagement side, they're going to hear more about this. But I think the value of the education is the current ranking. And if you say, Whitman School, Syracuse University has a top 25 business school, that is how people are going to view their education, not what it was in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's really, what is that quality education now? And so leveraging that alumni support will help improve the branding and the value of their education, because people are going to think about, how the school is ranked now, not it was before. Just like in athletics, right? If it's a top sports team, everyone knows the top sports team now. They kind of, they forget what it was a while ago.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how we're going to track it internally, our progress towards the goal, a lot of KPIs. Before we break today, and thank you again for taking the time to go through this with all of us, how can our Whitman community, family, friends, parents, prospective parents, when they log in online and they're looking at the Whitman School, how can they track the progress of Transformation 2030?
So number one, stay engaged. They're going to hear a lot more communication. So making sure you open our emails, you go to the social media, you follow us on, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever it is that you like. They're going to hear more about these types of things. And certainly when we call for help or put an offer out saying we're looking for solicitations, we're looking for people to mentor, we're looking for some full court press on helping our students get jobs, answer that call. And so a lot of this tracking, a lot of this ways of doing things, will continue to have sessions like this. It'll be on the webpage. It'll be in social media. And certainly when our team calls, please answer. I'm open to other suggestions from you, because part of your job is this external engagement piece. You're in charge of all the communications and all the alumni relations. So how else would you recommend people get engaged?
We talk a lot about time, talent, and treasure in our world, so to say, and that's the cliche line. But time, it's volunteering. Being engaged and having a relationship. Our whole entire team and department, we want you to have a relationship with the Whitman School, no matter when you graduated, or if you're a parent, or if you're a former parent of a Whitman student. We want you to have a relationship. We want you to engage to the extent that you want to be a part of the plan, right? So if that's hiring, if that's mentoring, if that's interning, helping us get our students placed, that's helping. That's giving back and being part of this plan, and helping us kind of get to where we want to get to. And then certainly philanthropically, that's always going to be important. I think we get caught up in always talking about money, but it's important to have philanthropy. It's going to, the university has made a significant investment in our school in Whitman over the last 2 years, and philanthropy can continue to play a very large part in a lot of the things that we're doing to enhance our student experience here, from retention and the merit-based things that we're doing for our students, experiential learning, career exploration trips. A lot of those things are funded by donors, by parents, friends, and alumni who care and want to pay back that experience so our students have it. So there's a number of ways to get involved. To learn more about getting involved, you can go to whitman.syr.edu. And this kind of teed me up there very nice.
I was going to say, and one thing that, I forgot to mention as we talk about this genuine support for students is last year we created an opportunity fund, which is making sure we have funding available for students who maybe don't have the financial means to get the most of the student experience, whether it's, some funding to join one of the clubs, some funding to go on those great career exploration trips like to New York City. Some emergency happens and need to get a new laptop, to a variety of different things that they could actually say that they need. So whether it's for, securing that internship and actually being able to accept it by living in a major metro city but can't afford to live there, to student activities that they might otherwise be missing out on, to emergencies. Those are the types of things that philanthropy and our genuine commitment to students, that's one of the ways that we can actually deliver on that promise.
Fantastic. Dean McKelvie, thank you very much for sitting down and spending time with our parents, friends, and our alumni, talking more about the Whitman School and our transformation plan.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's an exciting time. Heading in the right direction. So many good things around the school right now. The staff, faculty, students are all pulling for us, and so we're delighted to have even more people on board with us as we head up towards that top 25 ranking.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody, for watching.
Thanks. Go Orange.